Alright, what next for you? Writing expressions. Your favorite thing to do, writing and math. Now, I'm going to teach you a couple things that you may not need during this lesson, but you're going to need for the rest of the year, okay? Okay, words that are important or phrases that are important. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff, so you may want to use this paper for quite a bit. Let's talk about addition words. Okay? What words mean addition? Luke?
Some.
Some. That's the one that people struggle with. Whenever you see the word some, that means you better add. How many things are you adding when you see the word some? At least. At least two things. It could be groups of things, though, as well. We'll talk about grouping here in a minute. What else? What other words mean addition? Yeah, Nate.
Plus.
Plus. They do use the word plus. What else? Add. Alright, those are good for now. Let's talk about subtraction.
Minus.
Minus. That's used a lot. Glenn.
Difference.
Difference. That's a really good one. Anything else? Sorry. No.
Subtract.
Subtract. Now you're missing two very important ones that you will see almost all the time for addition and subtraction. Nate. Oh, take away is fine. And these, the ones that I'm going to put up here, are pretty important. No.
Less than.
Less than. Now these are special. So more than is addition. Less than, obviously subtraction. But these are special phrases. Anybody tell me why they're special? How would you write 6 more than X?
That little big.
No. I'm not talking about the inequality symbol. I'm talking about addition signs and subtraction signs. How would you write 6 more than X? Let's just write that up here. 6 more than X. How would you write that? X plus 6 is how you would write it. More than and less than mean you change the order. Everything else you typically put in the order that you get it. If you say 6 plus 7, you would write 6 plus sign and then 7. If you say 6 more than 7, you're going to write 7 plus 6. So there are special phrases where the order changes. Got it? It's really not important if you say 7 plus 6 or 6 plus 7. They're the same answer, right? It really matters down here. If I say 6 less than X, I better write X minus 6. Let's say that X is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1, right? Well, isn't 6 less than 7 1? Okay, but if you said 6 minus 7, what does that give you? -1. Order is important. Okay, it's not important with addition or multiplication. It is very important with division and subtraction. Alright, so there are other examples of changing the order. Most of the time you're just going to write it down in the order. Multiplication. Words for multiplication. Times. Oh my gosh. Stephanie.
Multiply.
Multiply. Reggie.
Product.
Product. That's a great one. Julian. That's the one I was looking for. Now, the word of is implied in a lot of story problems without them actually using it. Okay, so be careful. Anytime that you're actually reading a story problem and you find yourself working through it and you use the word of and it's not in the story problem, you're usually needing to multiply some things together. Okay. Anything else? Okay. What about division? Words for division? Stephanie. Divide. Other words. Taylor. Quotient is the good one. That's the one that people usually forget. Now, any others?
Is it by one?
Yes and no, depending on what we're talking about. And there are some phrases where you'll go back and forth depending on what you want to say. Okay, but in general, these are the ones we're going to use to do. But if I say, and I'm going to throw the examples in here as we do this, x divided by 6. How would you write that? Now, look, I don't want a division symbol. I want fractions. You're in Algebra 1 now. We don't use division symbols in x's for multiplication. Okay? We use dots for multiplication, and we write division as fractions, for the most part. Go ahead.
X over 6.
Yeah, the first number always goes in the top, and then the last number goes in the bottom. Got it? All right, so just like you read and do these things in order, we do the same thing with divide. What about quotient? The quotient of x and 6. What do you think? No, it's the same. Just like you read it. X over 6. Got it? Okay, now let's look at some other phrases here. Oh, we didn't talk about grouping symbols. Some grouping symbols. So add another category, grouping. What would make you think you need to group things together? And first of all, how do you group things together? Parentheses. Okay. What makes you know that you should group something? Josh.
You want it separate from the rest of the problem?
But give me an example. Can you think of one?
Not off the top of my head.
6 minus 6 plus 3.
Okay. For writing these things, really what you're going to do today is you're going to read some phrases and you're going to have to write what the actual expression would be. Okay, example. Let's see here. The sum of x and 6 that's good plus the difference of x and 6. And in this case, the sum means you're adding two things together, right? And then you're going to add something else to it. Which there are two things in it. We're doing the difference at that point. Okay? So here we have x plus 6 and the difference of x and 6. Okay. The whole point of understanding grouping symbols, which we don't spend a lot of time on explaining this stuff, and we really should, is you guys like to use calculators. You like to use computers and stuff. And you want to plug all this information into your calculator. If you don't use the parentheses that are on your calculator, and you just plug a whole bunch of stuff in, your calculator doesn't know what to do first. Your calculator's dumb. Okay? It can only do what you tell it to do. If something should be added together before you multiply or divide something else, then you better be putting parentheses in. Here's a great example. On your calculator, if you have a calculator, now some of your calculators are made to do certain things in order. So some of your calculators will work. If you just put into your calculator 6 plus 7 plus 7 divided by 2, tell me what you get.
Error.
Is that the answer?
I got 13.
First of all, what are you supposed to do first? You better do the 7 plus 7 because it is grouped together by this division symbol, by the fraction bar. That is a grouping symbol. It is implied that you have parentheses there. So if you were actually using your calculator and you had a long string of things that were more difficult for you to do in your head than this, then you would need to make sure you put parentheses in. This is how you would put this in your parentheses, so everybody try this. First of all, the answer is 6 plus 14 over 2 is 7. 6 plus 7 is 13, so we better get 13. Put this in your calculator. 6 plus parentheses, parentheses again, 7 plus 7 parentheses, a division symbol, 2, and then parentheses. Then hit your equal sign.
13.
Oh my goodness, it works.
Oh, the bracket.
Oh, wow.
If you have brackets on there, that's fine.
That's okay.
I don't think my calculators have that, do they? I don't know, it doesn't matter. So, this is how you calculate things. Don't you think you should be able to do this without putting all this stuff in your calculator? Later on, things will be more difficult, but please, if you're going to use your calculators, you need to really understand what grouping symbols are. Even though these grouping symbols aren't in the problem, it's implied. All right. That's what you're doing today.